Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to another review of the haves and the have-nots. Um, so let's get right into it. So let me get my notes up here. So Hannah, she gets over there to she's at we know that she had got over there to Catherine's house and that the police were detaining Derek because they thought he had broken in and he's saying to Hannah, yeah, I work for them. I work for and I came over here to because Jim called me and Hannah's looking like she don't want to really say anything. She's like, "Do you really want to start talking about what you did?" And so finally, she's just like, she gets him out of it so it can go. And so she just goes on upstairs to see if anything's missing. And there's jewelry missing out of Catherine's jewelry box, and then there are car keys missing. Of course, we know this because we saw the Wyatt take all these things. And so David gets over there, and he wants Hannah to tell him something what's going on, and she's like, "I'm not telling you anything." And he's like, "Well, it's Jim's house." And no, it's not Jim's house. It's actually Catherine's house. She paid for it. And because Jim doesn't have any money and he just came in that house and Catherine let him stay there, which I'm still not sure why she let him stay there. But anyway, and David, he's just like, he was not happy at all that he didn't get any information. And we see later he gets on the phone with Jim like, well, she wouldn't she wouldn't tell me anything. She's kind of a bitch, but she's a nice lady. And I'm like, who are you calling a bitch? I mean, Hannah didn't have to tell David anything. Like I said, she works for Catherine and is not Jim's house. Excuse me. So anyway, so Candace is still over there at Hannah's house outside waiting, and she wants Benny to let her in. And so Benny goes on and lets her in. And let me just keep on with this part so I don't miss anything. And yeah, so Benny went ahead and let her in. And so Candace is like, what am I supposed to do if Hannah comes back? Excuse me. And she's like, I'm here. And Hannah walks in, I'm here. And so she's just like, she's still angry clearly about what her children have done, and she don't want to see neither of them in her house. And so Benny just asked her, did they rape you? And Hannah's like, she didn't want to talk about it. She was clearly angry that Benny asked her this. She thinks that Candace told him. Candace did not tell him, like we saw at the end of the last season. Benny was um, Googling stuff about Derek, and it came up, and all that information came up, and he kind of put all the pieces together and figured it out. And so uh, so Benny go he leaves, and he's going to look for Derek again. And then Hannah's like, she's letting Candace know how disappointed she is in her and all that, and all of that. So basically, we're still seeing that. We're still getting the scenes where Hannah is conveying her disappointment, and like she's like, "Well, I thought you had really changed, but I guess not." So let's see. Let's just talk about them alone. So Vinny is still whining about his mother. My mother's in there. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Vinny, give it a rest. She's fine. So she's about to get out of there, and she's angry that nobody. Rose is angry that nobody called the police chief, and she's like, you tell him I know where his daughter is at and all that. I think she said she was like at college or something. And I'm like, you're about to get out of jail and you're still angry and want to threaten people. Mm. And so she starts to talking to Catherine again, and Catherine does not back down from Rose. She's like, you know what? Do not threaten me. Do not threaten me. And Rose is really not a match for Catherine because Catherine's the type where, okay, well, I'll do something and I'll just do it. And if I get caught, then so be it. Like, if, I mean, they did try to cover up her shooting Jennifer Allison, but at this point, I think Catherine would like, just like off Rose if she had to and not care if she got caught. And so over there at the bar, the Malone's bar, Mitch's cousin he's freaking out about the shooting. What's his name? Sandy. He's freaking out. He had never seen anything like that, and Mitch is like, you know what? That's the way it is. That's just the way it goes. And but Mitch really did not approve of what happened. He's like, well, he just shot the guy. He should go to jail. And then Sandy's all like, could I go to jail? I mean, I didn't pull the trigger, but I was there. And I'm like, Sandy talks all this like he's so big and tough and all that, but he just could not handle what he saw. So let me see where I want to go next. So, okay, so Rose, she gets over there to the bar. She's sprung from jail, and she wants Mitch to join in on the crime, and he's like, "Nah, I can't do that." And so all of a sudden, she just says, "Well, I want to go to Florida," and she leaves the business to Vinny. And I'm like, I'm thinking that Catherine actually got her shook because she didn't sound like before it didn't sound like she was ready to, just like give over her her business, whatever you want to call it. I think Catherine got her shook because Catherine was not scared of her. Catherine was very stoic in her demeanor, and when somebody's that stoic in the face of threats and all that, they're dangerous. So so pretty much that okay, and then let's just get to the end because it involved the Malone. So Wyatt, stupid Wyatt, stumbles into the bar, and I'm like, Wyatt, you really are stupid and crazy. Because before he went to the bar, he had been trying to sell jewelry that he had stole from Catherine. Mm. And the guys he was trying to sell it to were like, "Nah, this is cheap." And Wyatt's like, "No, this is worth like 45,000 dollars, something like that." And they're like, "No, it's cheap." And they were telling him, okay, and then they had already told him the only place taking jewelry for drugs was the bar. And so they basically, like they've had it with him, and they turn him over to this girl, and I guess she exchanges drugs for jewelry or whatever, and he has her drive him over there to the bar, and I'm like, Wyatt is just a huge mess. And then this fool goes to the bar and is just sits down at this on a stool, and I'm like, do you not realize this is where you almost killed one of the Malones? Anyway, so okay, so what have I not talked? Oh, okay. Now I've got to talk about um wait, okay. So did I get everything? Okay, I didn't. Let me just finish talking about Hannah and her family. So Derek, he is over there by her. He's over there by Hannah's house, and he tells Candace, I was on drugs when I was a teenager, and I was on drugs when I did that to your mother. and I didn't know about you. And Candace is like, she just tells him goodbye. I mean, she just obviously she just did not want to prolong the situation any longer, and she just said goodbye. So that was that with that. So let me get into Crazy Justin. So he's still standing outside of Madison's door, and Jeffrey shows up. And Jeffrey is he's got problems himself because he's instigating and trying to provoke Justin, because Justin asks him, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm here to see my man." And I'm like, "Come on now, Jeffrey, you are trying to push Justin's buttons by saying that." And Justin's just standing there outside the door. And he's telling Jeffrey, "Well, I gave up everything for you." Um, and I'm like, whoa, and it was kind of obvious, that Jeffrey was not as serious about Justin as Justin is about Jeffrey. It's been obvious. Um, Jeffrey pretty much uses men, because who he really likes is Wyatt, and he can't have Wyatt, so he uses other men. And now it just seems like he's using Madison to try to push Justin's buttons, and that's ridiculous. So he goes inside, and he talks to Madison, and he's saying, "Well, I want to sleep on the couch, and to make sure nothing happens." And Madison tells him, "Well, you can sleep in the bed." And Jeffrey's like, "Don't you have to go to work in the morning and all that?" And so that was that. Oh, so well, okay, so da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I yeah, I've got everything. So let's talk about Veronica and her dream. So Veronica dreams that she's in bed with David, and he's like apologizing to her and all of that. And we know this could we I knew when this was in the preview, I was like, what's going on here? This couldn't be happening, because David was like, he finally is through with Veronica. He tried to kill her, and so he wasn't gonna get into bed with her. So I kind of thought it was a dream, and it turned out it wasn't. And at the end of the dream, he's like, "Did you know I'm in love with Hannah?" And I'm like, where is that? Where is that even coming from? Why would Veronica dream that? But then in the preview, we see Hannah talking to David, asking him like something like, "Do you think your mother would approve of what you're doing or whatever like that?" And I'm wondering if they're gonna have um, Hannah and David get involved, because part of some of the themes that Tyler Perry likes to use in his films and his plays and stuff. You have somebody who probably has who isn't exactly that moral, and you have that person, and then they end up being with somebody who's like, good and Christian and all that, and they help them get on the right track. So I'm wondering if that is where this could be going with David and Hannah. And that would probably just make Veronica really flip out, because Hannah's like working class. She's a maid. Veronica's like educated and all that, thinks she's better than everybody. And she really does not like Hannah because she's a maid. So if David got involved with Hannah, that's really going to set um, uh, Veronica off. So we'll see where that goes. So that's it for the review. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you the next time. Bye.